Out of the books I've read over the years, the books that were incredibly impactful were from Robert Greene. In his book The Art of Seduction, there was an intriguing story about a man named Genji. Genji's life was told from the 11th century in Japan. During this time period, by the time most men were around the age of 40, they already looked very aged, but Genji retained his youthfulness. He would take nothing personally. His charm came from his incredible self-belief, believing that he is always allowed his way. He would never get defensive whenever he faced resistance. He was always graceful in his approach, carrying this amazing spirit of lightness. I remember this story about Genji being very impactful. It tied in all the great ideas and the attractive characteristics from this book in a very simple, holistic way. It also kept reminding me what I need to improve and work on about myself. A common quality that I've been noticing throughout this book is that seductive people see themselves as providers of pleasure. The definition of pleasure can vary depending on the person, but a deep source of pleasure comes from a need, a yearning to fill what's missing inside. If you see a lot of the great seducers throughout history, they had this powerful ability, which was their ability to focus their attention outwards. The royal road to influence is actually putting the attention on the other person by being present and attentive to the other person's needs, moods, and values. This is especially important for dating and attraction because it makes the other person feel more comfortable. Before we focus our attention outwards, I really believe that it has to first start with ourselves. We have to first believe and respect ourselves.
Like what bothers you about yourself?
I just wish I just felt more comfortable in my own skin a lot of times, because I feel like I would be able to be more effective as a person if I could just like kind of not toil in some of my own small self-worth issues or like lack of confidence at times. I wish I could trust my instincts, and I wish my instincts were like better calibrated. Martial
arts helped me with that tremendously because it was the first thing that I ever did where I didn't feel like a loser. It was like it was a feeling that I was completely unused to in the 14 previous years of my life. All of a sudden there was this feeling that I was unusual, I was unique, I was special.
That was really good training. For the longest time, I struggled with confidence. I'll be stuck in my own head. I'll be so self-conscious, so worried about what other people think about me. It's not until recently where I start to feel a lot more comfortable in my own skin, where I start to feel like I'm actually embracing myself. I think for me, it's because of all the struggles and lessons I've learned on training that's helped me to really understand a lot about myself. I remember reading The 50th Law by Robert Greene. In that book, it talks about how self-confidence, like true self-confidence, comes from a realization over time through a simple process of learning a skill and through discipline, persistence, and seeing the results and reward from that over time. You start to really believe in yourself. You start to respect yourself. It's a very self-actualizing process. Most of all, we become fearless that we can achieve anything that we set our minds to. As we build up that internal strength, it allows us to also be vulnerable, which is a vital ingredient in dating and attraction. Being able to be vulnerable entails a certain risk because we're opening up to share how we think and what we feel. But the magic is it allows the other person to want to open up as well. That's where it can lead to a very special emotional connection.
And I'm confident that the men and women who carry the honor of graduating from this institution.
A former president that's mentioned throughout the book is John F. Kennedy. He was known to have a shy, oversensitive with a bit of insecurity to his character, which was exactly what drew women to him. If he had tried to cover this up with a masculine swagger, that might have actually turned off his seductive charm. He knew how to subtly display his weakness, letting women sense his soft side. We all have weakness, frailness, and vulnerabilities. By trying to cover this up, we might come off as inauthentic or unnatural. It's not about wallowing in our weakness, as that will be pathetic, but rather we are playing a subtle balance between strength with an occasional display of our soft, sensitive side. Another great idea is that there are qualities about our character that are inherently seductive, which we must realize while also working to root out any anti-seductive tendencies we may have. This got me thinking about another book from Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. Law number 25, recreate yourself. It talks about how the character that we are born with is not necessarily who we are and who we have to be for the rest of our lives. Because who we are has been shaped primarily by our parents, our peers, and our life experiences. Powerful people take charge of this process. Powerful people have the ability to bend and adapt, and they're able to change themselves. It says that it should be our greatest joy to be an artist of recreating ourselves. My tendency was always being so critical, being so serious, also being judgmental. Those are actually really anti-seductive tendencies. The art of seduction talks about how being lighthearted and fun is a lot more attractive than being so serious and critical. And it really made me want to work on myself. I think for us to grow and improve, it also requires a degree of awareness of ourselves. We have probably heard countless of times of how meditation is good for us. It's because it's so true. Meditation has been helping me develop my self-awareness as well as awareness of others and my surroundings.
In fact, it's now even become a signaling thing where it's like, oh, how much did you meditate? I meditated this much.
Yep.
Or, there are people now wearing headbands saying with Tweety birds that chirp and then when they're in deep meditation. I don't know how they make it work, but they'll be like, I got a lot of chirps today. How many chirps did you get?
Oh,
right?
God.
Oh, your meditation technique is wrong. Mine is right. But
Yeah.
really all it is the art of doing nothing.
Robert Greene's books can be strong and focused on real, raw topics. However, I also realized that it helps with lifelong happiness because it leads the reader to finding their purpose in life. Why I believe that having a bigger purpose is so vital for dating and attraction is because it'll help maintain the right spirit and attitude.